Hey, good morning. Thank you for starting your week with us. It's a Monday in October, so you know what that means. A lot to get into here on First Take, especially today. We're all here in studio. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith. I'm Molly Karam. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
I'm going to shake your hand now because I got an idea. I won't want to shake it in a couple of minutes.
I can't let you.
You can't?
Because I don't want you to get sick. You know I'm under.
Oh, you're sick?
Exactly.
Oh,
I could have gotten you sick, but I looked out. And I didn't do that.
You got me sicking up last night.
Appreciate that.
But
yeah, with those tweets.
Yeah, I cannot promise, even on a day like today, that I'm not going to make you sick. Because I must tell you, I am looking forward to today's show, especially with this subject. Well, I shouldn't say especially. This comes second today.
The stage is yours.
But I can't wait for this one either.
All right, gentlemen, let's do it. The Cowboys losing the Superdome in overtime thanks to C.J. Spiller's 80-yard TD reception. Stephen A. Smith, what happened to those Cowboys?
I mean this affectionately. I want to make sure we all understand that I certainly don't wish, physical harm on anybody when I'm making jokes about the Dallas Cowboys in the interest of just making sure we get that out the way. When I call them an accident waiting to happen, I'm just saying what can go wrong will go wrong. I don't wish any harm on anybody. I don't wish Sean Lee to go down yet again with concussion issues. I don't wish Lance Dunbar to be out with an ACL and an MCL injury and probably out for the year. I don't wish bad things on the Dallas Cowboys in that regard. But I will acknowledge to you that when they lose, and they seem to reinvent ways to pull it off that way, it is somewhat comical to see, Skip Bayless. I'm thinking about a Dallas Cowboys team, Skip Bayless, that was, 91 yards away. They were 7 points down, and you had a backup quarterback in Brandon Weeden that needed to sit up there and drive this team down the field. I reminded you that it was the Saints. I did pick the Cowboys to win this game. You accused me of jinxing them.
And you did.
And I will openly confess that that's exactly what I did, and it's a beautiful thing to realize. I didn't wish to jinx them in that way where the injuries were taking place, but I did wish to jinx them in terms of the outcome. I'll openly confess that. But never in my wildest dreams, Skip Bayless, did I think that it would go down the way that it went down. For Brandon Weeden to drive them 91 yards. You understand? To connect with Williams on that TD pass in the right corner. To connect with him on the 24-yard pass before that, if I remember correctly. Cole Beasley and him hooked up on a 17-yard pass. Jason Witten and him hooked up on like a 29-yard pass. All of this went on in the same drive where Brandon Weeden, who had a relatively pedestrian game, didn't make any turnovers, but at the same time, there was nothing great about him up to this point. The dude showed up when it counted most, Skip Bayless. And somehow, some way, he didn't look like a reserve. He looked like somebody, Molly, Skip, that was capable of leading these Dallas Cowboys, that was capable of filling those shoes of that dude on the sideline with the sling in his arm, with the microphone in his right hand, shouting instructions, because he's usually the starting quarterback. His name is Tony Romo, by the way. You know, when I saw these things transpire, and I saw the Dallas Cowboys tie it up, I started laughing because I said to myself, you know something? There's plenty of time for Drew Brees to drive this team down the field. What a cruel, cruel ending it would be. But you know what? I'm going to make to you is this.
Wow.
At that particular moment in time, Skip Bayless, all of a sudden, I heard the announcer screaming, there he goes! C.J. Spiller's gone, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, on the second play, just 13 seconds in the overtime, Drew Brees delivered the goods. And I just want to end by saying this. Seems like every time you have somebody coming back, you have somebody else going down. It seems like, Sean Lee, Skip, what injury has this dude had? Has this dude not had? Hamstring, toe, neck, knee. The list goes on. Some dudes, regardless of how talented they are, just ain't meant to play this game. And I don't mean it talent-wise, because I know Sean Lee can play. I'm talking about durability. You can be somewhat brittle, particularly in the NFL game. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I feel bad for you, bro, because New England is next. Is it New England next?
A whole lot of people are next and next and after that next.
The floor is yours, Skip Bayless, but I just want to say my condolences. I I truly mean it.
You do not truly mean it, but that's okay.
My condolences.
Yeah.
Why do you have to get them all fired up? Skip.
By the way, before I start, at least I didn't pick Indianapolis to be in the Super Bowl.
I know. That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You got me there.
But
that's just here.
Yeah.
My heart's not with Indy.
Right.
Your heart's with Dallas. So you're suffering from a broken heart.
Shots fired.
You know
Let's stay focused.
There's one silver lining to what has happened.
Okay.
And that is your shtick is getting so old for me that now you're going to have to put it back in your little bag of tricks over there, and you're going to have to leave it there for a long time, because I got to tell you, I'm concerned my Dallas Cowboys are about to become, dare I say, irrelevant, because they are in for a rough stretch. I told you they had 2 winnable games, Atlanta at home and at New Orleans. They were up 28-17 at halftime and obviously fell apart in the second half versus Atlanta. And last night they went to overtime, and as soon as Jason Witten called tails, you got to always call heads. It's always heads. I can't prove that mathematically, but it just always seems to be heads on the overtime flip. He calls tails, it's heads. I said, I'm cooked, because they weren't going to stop Drew Brees at that point.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. Are you trying to say that because he called tails instead of heads, that has...
Well, however you do it. Once you lose the coin flip to Drew Brees at home with a gas defense, you're basically done, okay? And they just might be done for good. We'll talk about that
just a little bit. Because I never heard that from you before. That's
so here's my issue with your take, which is always the very same over and over and over again to make me sick. I'm physically sick over hearing you say accident waiting to happen.
I know.
An accident waiting to happen is when your big stars make crucial mistakes at crucial moments. Last night, my Dallas Cowboys, with no big stars left, had 0 turnovers at New Orleans. I thought that was pretty good, which leads to my bottom line off last night. I cannot tell you how proud I was of my Dallas Cowboys last night against increasingly decimated, not meant to be odds at New Orleans. To get that game to overtime was sensational to me. And I want to applaud and thank Brandon Weeden for playing your tail off last night. He gave you next to no credit. You had a QBR of 81 and led a 91-yard drive to tie it at the end. That is big time. Okay, I know, but you said he was hitting
up until that point.
Yeah, but an 81 on a scale of 100, that's pretty high QBR, because he deserved it. Okay, now back to my big picture bottom line. Look, the injury gods are just screaming at me, sorry, this year is not for you. It's not meant to be. Well, that's not an accident waiting to happen. That's just bad luck. And I know you said, oh, I don't wish injury upon anybody. But this has gotten almost laughable how bad the injuries are. Because, Sean Lee, you're right. He's brittle. We know that. But to lose yet another current best player on my defense in the first half last night, after he played at an extremely high level, that's pretty hard to overcome against Drew Brees. And I know Drew Brees didn't have quite his arm last night, but it looked pretty good to me, I got to tell you. And then, do you understand what Lance Dunbar means to this football team? He is the most electric playmaker on the football team. He already had a 45-yard run on the second play of the game. And he tries to make a play from 8 yards deep in the end zone and completely obliterates his knee on the tackle, and he's lost on the opening kickoff of the second half. And I was like, to quote the great Don Meredith, turn out the lights, the party's over. But guess what Brandon Weeden did 2 series later? Wait a second. He goes bombs away to Bryce Butler, and I tried to tell you when they acquired him, he can fly, and he's 6'3", you know, he's a stud. He just needed to figure out how to play. And here he is, bombs away, and guess what happens?
He gets hurt.
He pulls his hamstring on this play. I thought he was going to score, and he couldn't go anymore, so he just stepped out of bounds. He should have scored. Well, that would have made it 17-10. That would have given me a little more cushion than 13-10, because, of course, they coughed at that point and ended up with a field goal. Well, 17-10 might have put a little more pressure on you and the Saints at that point. So then my quarterback obviously leads the drive. Game is tied. Their kicker did miss a field goal, but we gave them, with 12 men on the field, we had just given them a field goal a little earlier in the game, so I thought that was a wash. Then Jason Witten lose the overtime flip, and guess what happens on the first play of overtime, one that you omitted? Andrew Getchgar, who is my backup to Sean Lee, backup linebacker, gets picked on the play. I don't know if we have that one. He gets picked and just gets hammered. And he limps off the field. Okay, now you have to throw Damian Wilson, your third-string rookie linebacker, back into the game. He's a nickel linebacker. And you have to say, on the fly, who do you have? Who do you have? Oh, wait a second. I'm supposed to cover, oh, yeah, C.J. Spiller. And he's gone by, and before you even figured out what his assignment on the play was, and it's a home run, and the game is over. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Like, what can I do about that? My third-string rookie linebacker is trying to cover C.J. Spiller. That's just the injury god saying, I'm sorry. This one's not for you, Mr. Bayless. You're out this year. You're done. You know, well, I can't fight that. Tell me what I'm supposed to do. I can't. It's just one thing. Those aren't accidents waiting to happen. That's just saying this is not your year. This team, listen, if this team had stayed whole as it did most of last year, it would run away with this division. Trust me, it would win it by 2 games.
I agree.
Okay, now it's not only is it up for grabs, but my Cowboys are in danger of plummeting now into the cellar of the NFC East, and I know we're about to talk about that.
Well, I appreciate your passion, and I'm definitely touched by you know, just the way you chronologized everything and pointing out the plethora of injuries that have taken place with the Dallas Cowboys. But I'd like you to keep in mind, and I'd ask you to keep in mind, Skip Bayless, that when I say that the Dallas Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen, I don't just leave that statement out there. I go about the business of articulating my positions in a very vivid manner so we can understand exactly where I'm coming from. I have repeatedly told you, since the day I started on this show, that when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. That is what I have said. I have gone on the record and said miraculous plays that work against them, injuries at inopportune times, bad plays at inopportune moments, etc., etc. I have repeatedly stated over and over and over again that something will go wrong with this organization, because when your foundation is what they have been about, then it's going to cost you. Yes, you paid, you listen to Tony Romo finally, and you got him an offensive line. But you know what? What about karma, Skip Bayless? What about sitting there and not, don't get me wrong, I understand that DeMarco Murray looks bad in Philadelphia, but he didn't look bad in Dallas. Well, you know what? Dunbar going down, I understand that. Whatever struggles Randall may have had, I think he's been okay. Would you imagine? You didn't have that problem last year when DeMarco Murray was back there running the football. But see, what happens is
he broke his hand, by the way.
What happened?
Yeah,
but he still played. He still came back and played. And what I'm saying to you is that when you don't take care of the people you're supposed to take care of, when you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, bad things end up happening sometimes. It's applicable to everything else in life. Why would it not be applicable when it comes to the National Football League? When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, yes, you've got Sean Lee, who's relatively brittle but very, very gifted. We understand that, okay? But to get down with the concussion issues, okay? You look at a Rolando McClain, he's coming back. A Greg Hardy, he's supposed to come back, but we know why they're gone. Along with Randy Gregory, his foot, we know why he's gone. Orlando Scandrick, that's unfortunate because he's a good guy as well as a really good corner. He's no prime time, but he's good, okay? But he's down. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of there was so much that went right with this team last year. All you had to do was be about the business of standing pat and coming back and going for it. But it's more hype, more bluster, more whatever you want to call it. And it interferes somehow, some way with what's going to transpire for the Dallas Cowboys. I could not have predicted anything specific was going to go down, but I have repeatedly told you when it's time for something to go wrong, it will, because the fabric of this organization that you love just ain't intact, and it continues to show.
I'm going to say this again. I will give you interceptions, turnovers of any kind, block punts.
You don't have to give me anything.
I will give you playing down to an opponent that you should crush and losing a game you shouldn't lose, that's an accident waiting to happen. These happen to 2 or 3 teams every year. They just get decimated.
I'm not sure.
How about your Giants last year? Were they not just decimated?
The Cowboys don't have any of their big 3 this year from last season.
Wait a minute. The New York Giants last year, they've always had injuries on their offensive line. They've always had injuries somewhere, but Victor Cruz went down last year. What I'm saying to you is that the Dallas Cowboys, you can sit there and give me whatever or not give me whatever you want. Unfortunately, Skip Bayless, much to your dismay, you don't get to make that call because I am going to continue.
I get to
forever
correct your call.
No.
That's what I get.
Well,
you can do whatever you want to do. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. You can say what you want to say.
That's what I'm trying to say. You're going to get nauseated with correcting me about the accident because I kept telling you. And by the way, they're going to come back. Des Bryant's going to come back. Tony Romo's
You sure about that?
I believe this. I'm just telling you what I believe. I think Tony Romo's going to come back. I think Des Bryant's going to come back. I think Greg Hardy and Randy Gregory
and Rolando McClain definitely back.
I think they're going to be, I'm talking about not just return, but I think they're going to last. And right when you expect it, when you don't expect it, something's going to go wrong again because that's what happens with the Cowboys. This is what happens.
Last quick thought.
Sure.
If you put DeMarco Murray on a lie detector right now,
he
would
want to be
say,
back in Dallas.
I should have taken a little less money to stay home.
A little less.
Yeah.
A little less.
And I don't know what a little less was.
But not as little as Jerry Jones wanted to give him.
I get that.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe so. So New England at Dallas, that's 4:25 on Sunday. The Cowboys now have lost 5 of 6 against the NFC South. So the Cowboys, Giants, and Redskins, as we mentioned, are